everyone, just let me know when you're ready. All right. As always, I really appreciate all of you attending today. I just have about 3 items that I want to talk about here. And first, I want to talk about 6 months crime stats and how we're doing there. I mean, obviously, it's our primary responsibility to try to keep the public and, residents of this city safe. So our 6-month report card revealed that we're doing very good in some areas, and we have challenges in others. One of the things that I'm concerned about is murders. Murders are up compared to this year versus the same time last year. We have approximately 44 additional murders. This particular crime category is seemed to be on the rise across the country, in other cities, major cities in the United States, and there is no particular pattern or trends. They're all in different categories. Some are taking places inside people's homes, businesses, courtyard of apartment complexes, all over. And there's no single trend, there's no serial murders, or there's no trends for its motives. In most murders that I'm familiar with, there's really only 2 motives: passion or money. Some type of passion or money. When you get down to it. Now, arguments, disagreements, all of those fall into passion. Drug deals, all of those type of illegal transactions is money. So those are really the only 2 motives that a murder is going to fall into. It's going to be some type of passion, or it's going to be over money. The other 3 categories of violent crimes, we're doing fairly well. Robberies are pretty much flat. They're slightly up, just slightly over 1%. But on a crime graph, that's actually flat, and we're doing very, very well. Rapes are down a little over 9%. Aggravated assaults, which can lead to murders, are down over 4%. But overall, violent crime of all of those categories are down about 1.7%. And when it comes to nonviolent crime, Part 1 crimes, all of our property crimes are down. I just want to highlight a couple. Burglaries of residents are down about 19%. We're extremely proud of that. And burglaries of motor vehicles are down over 10% versus the same time last year. So nonviolent crime in its totality is down 7.1% versus the same time period, 6 months last year. And if you look at all 7 of the UCR Part 1 crimes in totality, the city is 6.2% down. So the city of Houston is 6.2% safer than it was for the same time period last year. And we have accomplished that with less police officers. Now, I've sounded the cry for some time now, and I continue to sound that. Staffing is an issue. Our guys are working hard. We have a lot of overtime programs, crime initiative programs that are in place, but at some point in time, overtime alone is not going to get it. Last year, fiscal year, we had approximately 250 officers leave the organization through attrition, retirements, those type of things. That was the highest number since about 2004. Now, you can just do the math. In this fiscal year, we're only going to have 4 cadet classes. that barely keeps us above water just for 1 year. But over the course of the last 4 or 5 years of losing approximately 200 officers, 190 to 200 officers a year, we fell behind. And we're well over 200 officers short than we were in 2002, and this city has grown by 400,000 residents. So here's the takeaways that I want to repeat and highlight again. We've reduced crime in this city 6.2% this year versus the same time period last year. We're well over 200 officers short than we had in 2002. We have 400,000 more residents that live in this city than we had in 2002. So I appreciate the job that the men and women of HPD, what they've accomplished with less. And we had to do that through a number of ways. Technology, putting our resources where we can get the most bang for our bucks, citizens' involvement, citizens' education, all of the community partnerships that we have has contributed to that. But at some point in time, we have to add additional police officers to this department. The second thing I want to talk about today is kind of a wrap-up of our 4th of July activities and what we accomplished in trying to reduce DWIs and fatalities here in the city and the Houston area. From July the 2nd to July the 5th, these are preliminary numbers, but we had approximately 3 fatalities that was related to intoxicated or impaired drivers. Houston-Harris County law enforcement agencies combined efforts yielded a little over 150 arrests for people that were driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated. And approximately 29 of those arrests were conducted by the Houston Police Department. So 1 fatality is 1 too many, but still, I think that we're going to consistently send a message that, you know, drinking and driving is unacceptable, and it will never be acceptable for us in law enforcement, and we're going to try to do everything that we can to continue to keep our roadways safe and discourage those from getting behind the wheel after drinking. And if we choose to do so, then we're going to make every effort to try to charge you and arrest you and discourage you from doing it again. And hopefully you don't kill someone or kill yourself. The last thing that I want to talk about here today is I want to invite all of you, July the 27th at 10:30 a.m. We're going to have the official naming ceremony for this building, the Edward A. Thomas Building. We're certainly appreciative that the mayor and council approved our request to name that building after, he's referred to as Mr. T or Mr. Thomas, retired senior officer Edward A. Thomas. He was the longest serving police officer in the history of HPD. At the time of his retirement, all the evidence that we've found shows that he is the longest serving, I apologize. But he was the longest serving law enforcement officer in the United States. Served over 6 decades, a little over 63 years here at HPD. His career started in 1948 after honorably serving his country in World War II. And that was a challenge in and of itself. Being in General Patton's 3rd Army, serving in North Africa, Normandy, in the Battle of the Bulge. And obviously, we all have, regardless of our age, we know the history of the United States, and we certainly know the history and what this country was like in 1948 when it comes to discrimination, disparate treatment against minorities. And the Houston Police Department was no different. He endured a lot. He was not allowed to attend roll call with his white counterparts. He was not allowed to drive a police car, could not arrest a white person. He had to walk a beat from 3rd Ward to 5th Ward. And he worked a really, really odd shift, like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Now, I would suspect that for Mr. Thomas to keep himself safe, walking in that area twice a day, that was community policing at its roots, because he did have to have, I believe, an excellent relationship with those folks in the neighborhoods and the community. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to survive. So, he's the most revered police officer I think that ever served. Very modest man, and Mr. Thomas will be there. I'm not saying that he's going to take any questions, but one of his family members is certainly going to speak about Mr. Thomas and tell you a little bit more about him. But we're all proud for a couple of reasons. He is certainly most deserving for what he endured and went through. But what better fitting tribute to name police headquarters after someone that was a patrol officer his entire career. So I just think that all patrol officers out there should be very, very proud every time that you walk in this building that you can see the name of a patrol officer on this building. You know, and not some other celebrity. He wasn't a chief, he wasn't a mayor, he wasn't a governor, he was a patrol officer. And he was an epitome of what we want police officers to do and be. Make sure that you maintain your dignity and respect even when you're facing adverse challenges and conditions. And he did that. So thank you. That's all I have, and now I'll just open it up for any questions.